Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the secondary Incarnon weapon, the Bronco Prime. Now in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon built out by itself, and I leave it up to the viewer to make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. Let's go into our little salt cave here. We have the top and first commenter of the last video. It was the same person. It's Adam37. We have our recent supporters of Colonel Sir 06, Alfofo, and Toxic Sneeze. Thank you so much for your support. And of course, we're doing the Bronco Prime Incarnon today. Let's go into our arsenal here, and we'll take a look at the Bronco Prime. So, pretty cool weapon. It's been in the game for a really, really long time. There's actually a dual version for the Bronco, which is, used to be the best Bronco until the Incarnon came out. And the Incarnon you can only use the single Bronco for. So now the single Bronco with the Incarnon is now the most powerful Bronco. Okay, let's go into the build here. I'm going to go over unique and interesting things about the Bronco. So the regular Bronco mode is a single-handed, like hand shotgun kind of a weapon. The Incarnon mode, it's still a single-handed hand shotgun, except now when you hit something, those pellets will fly off and hit an additional target. Very, very similar to a recent weapon we've done with the Lado. Very similar to the dual Toxicist that has like a similar type of effect. Now, the Bronco, because it's a shotgun, it has a very high starting multi-shot. So it says 14.7 here, but that's with mods. Let's go to a blank config here. Well, this was a blank config. Here we go. So it's 7 multi-shot base, which is really, really good because every other mod that has multi-shot will scale off of that. As you see with our mods, it's 14.7 now, so we're doubling it by just adding galvanized diffusion. And then there's other multi-shot mods you can be putting on, or there's rivens and things that can increase that even further. Okay, another important thing with the Bronco is that it's a semi-automatic weapon, and so semi-automatic weapons let you use a mod called Semi-Pistol Cannonade, which gives you a large amount of flat damage and punch through. And something that you need to know about these weapons that shoot an additional shot, like when they hit a target, is that if that main bullet can punch through and hit 2 dudes, then you'll have 2 shots that fly off and hit an additional target. So punch through is really nice for those type of weapons. So semi-pistol cannonade, not only does it give us a large amount of flat damage, but it also gives us punch through, both things that we really want. It does lock our fire rate, so we cannot make our fire rate better or worse. But the large amount of flat damage is nice because it allows us to use a different arcane. Normally, we would have to use Merciless or Deadhead on a lot of our builds to give us that flat damage. But in cases where you can use Semi-Pistol Cannonade, you get your flat damage here, and so you can play around with some of the cooler and more fun arcanes. Okay, I think that's about it. I think we can finally go... Actually, you know what? No, there's more thing about the Bronco. It's going to be a little bit more of a flex because this is a very rare mod. But the Bronco does have a Bronco-specific mod called Dizzying Rounds. Shots fired from less than 8 meters stun enemies and open them up to finishers. And it gives the Bronco a plus 200% status chance. I don't know how much this is going for now, but I had to buy this for 400 plat. It's one of the rarest mods in the game, at least when I bought it. However, recently they have been bringing back some of like the really, really old mods that were exclusive, like in some events. So this could have been maybe accessible somewhat recently, but I'm not really too sure on that. I know I had to purchase this about a year and a half ago for almost 400 plat. Now, Dizzying Grounds does not make it on our build, unfortunately, even though it is an extremely rare mod, and it actually is it's a pretty cool and pretty powerful mod. It just doesn't make it on our build. It's not good enough to make it on our build. Okay, so let's go over the mods that we have on our Bronco Prime here. We're going to have Galvanized Diffusion for multi-shot. Galvanized Crosshairs for critical chance. Creeping Bullseye is 200% critical chance and minus 20% fire rate. However, remember, we can't make our fire rate better or worse, and so actually the fire rate doesn't get affected at all. So this is basically just 200% critical chance, which is really nice. Prime Target Cracker for critical damage. Semi-Pistol Cannonade for flat damage and 1.5 punch through. And then we're going to be going for a viral electric setup. Okay. This is a kind of low alpha damage weapon. It's hard to tell. Shotguns are hard to see if they're low or high alpha because they look high alpha. If you look at this, it says 14,000 damage. But that's with all the pellets combined with 14 pellets. So it's about 1,000 damage a pellet. 1,000 damage. Of course, like this is not factoring in crit damage or anything like that. But 1,000 damage a pellet is kind of on the cusp, like in between low and high alpha. So, viral and corrosive tend to be the best elements for low alpha weapons. With high alpha, blast starts becoming really good. Because this is on the cusp, blast could also be pretty decent on this weapon. But I would suggest going for viral and electric. But if you had a way to externally viral prime, like maybe you're using a Panzervulpaphyla, maybe you're using Nourish, where you get like viral for free, then put Blast here instead. Blast would be really good because, again, this weapon's kind of on the cusp between like a low alpha and a high alpha weapon. So Blast could be actually really, really good on this. Okay, now you might be asking, why are we going electric? And I'm going to skip the Exilus for now. I'll just go to the Arcane here. And it's because we're using a Arcane called Conjunction Voltage. On an electric status effect, you get 1.5% reload speed, and 3% multi-shot for 12 seconds, stacking up to 40 times. So that is 120% multi-shot. Remember, multi-shot on a weapon that has a higher than average, a much higher than average, multi-shot is extremely valuable. So 120% multi-shot from Conjunction Voltage is like, if the base was 7, that's like 9 pellets? 9 or 10 pellets? Which is huge. That's a gigantic damage increase, like ridiculous damage increase there. I mean, this would be a good mod on an average multi-shot weapon, but on a weapon that has 7 base multi-shot, it's even crazier. So even though this is an Incarnon weapon and we don't get a huge amount of value out of the reload speed, just 120% multi-shot is humongous on this thing. And that being said, we still get a little bit of value out of the reload speed. The non-Incarnon form you're going to have to be using to obviously fill the Incarnon by getting headshots. And it only has a magazine of 4. So you're probably going to have to go through about 2 magazines before you get a full Incarnon bar. And that a little bit extra reload helps with that. It also helps with going into Incarnon mode. So, but you're mostly using Conjunction Voltage for the 120% multi-shot. Now, the other thing to consider in the Arcane slot, there's kind of 2 Arcanes that are really, really good here. One is a little bit more utility focused, and if you're doing very high content like level cap or near level cap. And let's take a look at that one. That's going to be Secondary Fortifier. So Secondary Fortifier, you gain 1 overguard for every 100 damage dealt to an enemy's overguard, and you deal 8 times damage, or times 8 extra damage to overguarded enemies, which is really nice, especially when you're doing that much, much higher level content. There are a lot of Eximuses and even non-Eximuses that just have overguard. And so you actually get a lot of value out of Fortifier, plus you get the survivability effect of it too, where you get overguard. And so you probably won't do as much, well, you almost likely will not do as much damage as if you were using Conjunction Voltage, but you getting overguard might actually be really, really useful in that super high level content. Plus, the extra damage to overguarded enemies, you'll actually will be doing good amount of damage to specifically those overguarded enemies. So both of these, very good. I think Conjunction Voltage is going to be generally better than Secondary Fortifier. However, if you are planning to do near level cap or level cap, I would suggest Secondary Fortifier. Or if you were just using, like if you needed a utility option for your build, Secondary Fortifier would be a good option too. Okay, and we skipped over the Exilus. Let's go over the Exilus real quick, because there actually is kind of 2 choices here. So you have Lethal Momentum, which is plus 40% projectile speed. For anyone that doesn't know, projectile speed on shotguns, or I should say on any weapon that has fall off. So if you see here, the Bronco has fall off, because this is not technically a shotgun. It's a shotgun pistol, but it's still a secondary, so it's not technically like in the shotgun category. But any weapon that has fall off, projectile speed increases that fall off range. So let me just do something for you here. So if you look here, and people that know this, you can probably skip ahead a minute, but I'll spend a minute just kind of explaining it to people that don't. If you look here, our Bronco, the regular fire mode, it's going to do its maximum damage until about 12.6 meters, and then it's going to do reduced damage, more and more and more reduced damage until it gets to 25.2 meters. Now, if I take off lethal momentum, look what happens. Oh my goodness. Now it's only doing its maximum damage up to 9 meters, and then it starts doing reduced damage up to 18 meters. So your effective range for like medium range, your effective damage for like medium range engagements goes down if you take off your projectile speed. But if you add it, it goes back up there. And if you look down at the Incarnon mode, it still has fall off. It has more fall off, but it still has fall off. So, but the Incarnon mode is a little bit more generous. If I was to take off lethal momentum here, it starts at 18, which is pretty good. Like most of your engagements on the Bronco are probably going to be within 18 meters. And so you could technically consider not even using projectile speed, but that's really up to you. I do personally like projectile speed. That makes it, be a little bit better at medium ranges. Should you be shooting the Bronco at medium ranges? Probably not, but Let me show you another Exilus that is pretty decent, though. And you can just kind of make that decision yourself. Targeting subsystems. On a hit, you get plus 30% accuracy when aiming for 9 seconds. Now, this is a pistol shotgun, so it kind of like spreads out in a cone. Well, accuracy will narrow that spread. Some people will like that. Some people will not like that. I like it, especially on an Incarnon shotgun, because it allows you to get more headshots when you're trying to fill your Incarnon bar. So this could be a really good Exilus 2 over lethal momentum. It's really up to you, though. Do you value having better fall-off range, where you can do your maximum damage further and further out? Or do you think that maybe the Incarnon's base of 18 is enough and you want to use targeting subsystems? Both are completely fine options. It's really up to you to make that decision. Okie dokie, and that's how to build out the Bronco Prime Incarnon. We'll go over the evolutions next here. Oh, and also something about the mods. I always check, just, as a disclaimer, because this sometimes comes up. I always check, make sure that galvanized shot is not multiplicative. If it's multiplicative, it would have been on the weapon. It is not multiplicative, though, so that, therefore, it does not make it on the weapon. Okay, so evolutions. First evolution is that you've just unlocked the weapon. Congratulations. Second evolution here. We're going to be going for infused shots. Increases your base damage by plus 16. And on 50 energy spent, increases base damage by plus 9 for 10 seconds and stacks up to 4 times. So what is that? 9 times 2 is 18, times 2 is 36, plus 16 is 46, 52. So altogether, this will be 52 base damage increase. That's really nice. This does have the condition that you have to be spending at least 50 energy every 10 seconds for you to maintain this. I feel like most Warframes can do that, and so I feel like most Warframes you should be using infused shots on your Bronco. But let's look at this other one here, because if you can't maintain, 50 energy spent every 10 seconds, the other one's pretty decent. This increases your base damage by plus 30, so you get a larger initial base increase of base damage. And then the second effect is with a sprint speed of 1.2 or higher, you get 60 projectile speed. Projectile speed is nice because it increases that fall-off range, like I said. However, it's not super, super needed for the Incarnon mode. I personally have chosen the projectile speed of my Exilus slot, so I don't really need extra here. And we would also have to make sure that we had a sprint speed of 1.2 or higher, which I don't feel like having to do shenanigans to do that, so I don't really care too much. So I'm looking at speeding Bullet more for just the plus 30. So this one's plus 52. This one's plus 30 base damage increase. The 52 is conditional that you spend 50 energy every 10 seconds. The 30 is not conditional of anything. You just get 30. So that's up to you. You can choose a 30 or a 52. Obviously, bigger number equals better, but it has a condition. Now, I think most of the time, infused shots is pretty easy to activate on most Warframes, so I think you should go for this. However, for this video, because I don't use abilities in my videos, I'm going to be switching over to Speeding Bullet. That way I just get plus 30 instead of only getting plus 16. So, okay. Let's go over... I spent too much time on that evolution there. Let's go over the third evolution here. We're going to be going for Practice Grip. Increases accuracy by plus 30. Again, like we were saying with the other Exilus, accuracy decreases the spread of the weapon, so it lets you get more headshots. So this is really nice. The other ones here, minus 50% weapon recoil. The weapon doesn't shoot very fast. You don't have a lot of shots in your magazine. You shouldn't spam your Incarnon shots. So, like, you don't really need negative recoil on this weapon. So I don't think this is a great option. And then this one here increases base magazine capacity by plus 2. This doesn't affect the Incarnon mode. This would kind of make the non-Incarnon feel better, but I'm still just going to go with the accuracy here. I think you just get more value out of accuracy. All right, and fourth evolution here. We're going to be going for Commodore's Fortune. This is going to increase our base critical chance by plus 20. Base critical chance is huge because everything scales off of that. Really, really nice. There is another one here, though, that's close. It's close. And that's Rain of Lead. This increases your base multi-shot by 2. Really nice. So instead of having a 7 base, you would have a 9 base. And then everything scales off of that, right? Like if you have a mod that says it gives you 100% multi-shot and it works on your 7 base, it's going to turn you into 14. But if you have 100% multi-shot and you have 9 base, it's going to give you 18, you know? So base multi-shot is really nice because it just further helps those mods work on it. Now, personally, I think the 20 base critical chance is better, but you can kind of make this decision yourself. I think they're close. I do value the critical chance a lot more, though, myself, personally. This one here, enough for everyone, plus 80% ammo efficiency when 6 enemies are within 6 meters. This only affects the non-Incarnon, and it has a conditional. It's just weird. I don't think this is good at all. Okie dokie, that's the evolutions for the Bronco. That's how to build out the Bronco. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to show this in 10 minutes of Steel Path gameplay. We'll show how this weapon works. I'm going to be doing this on a Big Dumb Inaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance. No mods or arcanes on the Inaros that increase weapon performance, and with a pet with no sentinel weapon, and no mods on the pet that increase weapon performance.
These foes deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths, and I with your victory.
Alrighty. We're going to get our headshots into our Bronco here. It's probably going to take about 2 magazines to get your Incarnon bar full, and that's if you get lucky. You are going to notice that it does take a little bit to fill this Incarnon bar. Here we go. Like I said, you don't want to spam the Incarnon because it'll pretty much kill like whole groups in 1 or 2 shots. So maybe like shoot twice and then like assess the situation. Pretty meaty weapon, though. It feels really good using it. Again, very similar to the Dual Toxicist, very similar to the Lado Vandal. It has that same ricochet type effect for the Incarnon. They just have slight differences. You know, the Lado is a big, heavy pistol that does a crap load of damage in each shot. The Toxicist is kind of a machine pistol that does lower damage, but it shoots really, really fast. And you have the Bronco, which is kind of like a mix between both of them, where it feels like a heavy single shot, but it's not really a single shot. It's a crap load of little pellets. So it's kind of like a little mix. Yeah, I think all three of them are really good. Some people might like, you know, certain ones better. The Lado is not very easy to use. It's a little bit more annoying to use because you have to do the whole holster thing with the Lado Incarnon. The Toxicist is very easy to use. You just have to make sure you're getting headshots, which, I mean, on a weapon that shoots so quickly, you're just going to get a lot of headshots through pure attrition. And this weapon's very easy to use, except when you go out of Incarnon, it does take a little bit to fill the Incarnon bar. You can get lucky. You can have, like, an Eximus in front of your face, and you can just, like, put, like, two shots into his head and, you know, have a full Incarnon bar. But on Little Trash, sometimes you have to kind of farm a few headshots here. For ribbons, you're looking for multi-shot is going to be godlike on the ribbon for this weapon. Multi-shot definitely number 1. Probably crit damage number 2 and crit chance number 3. Thanks is down. Remember, because you do have 1.5 punch through, because of Cannonade, you do want to try to line dudes up, because if you can hit 2 dudes with a single shot, you'll get ricochets off both of the dudes. If you're missing any of the mods on my build, you can also replace pretty much any of them with just Lethal Torrent, which sounds dumb because it's like, well, you're using Cannonade and you're locking out fire rate. Why would you use Lethal Torrent? Well, because 60 multi-shot, you know, while 60 multi-shot is not a big deal on an average multi-shot weapon, because you don't even technically get an extra bullet with it, 60 multi-shot is a huge deal on a shotgun that has 7 multi-shot base, because you get friggin' 4 or 5 pellets out of it. You know, it's not good enough to beat any of the mods that we have on the weapon currently, but if you were missing one of them, just put Lethal Torrent over it. And when you get a ribbon that has even more multi-shot, hey, just put that there. Don't be too worried about if you have to go into Incarnon early too. Like I just went into Incarnon there, even though I wasn't full. Like it's fine. Just because this weapon is a little bit harder to fill. It's very similar to the Boar Incarnon, where it's like if you really try to spend all day filling up your bar, you'll actually just become less efficient. Just maybe use 2 mags worth. Try to get your Incarnon bar as full as you can, and then go to Incarnon. Don't spend more than 2 mags worth of time trying to fill your bar up. Get it as full as you can in 2 mags, and then switch over. That was definitely a little bit too early right there. I went into Incarnon with only 1 shot of Incarnon. What are you doing, Salt? What are you doing?
Look at them. They come to this place when they know they are not pure. Tenno use their keys, but they are mere trespassers. Only I, Thor, know the true power of the Void. It is time. I will teach these trespassers.
Yeah, I forgot what augments became available. I know they unlocked a few of the really old augments that were available, because I was really salty after I purchased a certain augment. I think I purchased it for like 300 plat. And like a few months later, there was an event that had it become available again finally. And it went down to like 50 plat. I'm like, damn it. I don't know if Dizzying Rounds was that one or not. I didn't check the market before I did the video. But I know I bought Dizzying Rounds for about 400 plat. But I'm a collector. It's not that I bought it because I thought it was the most amazing mod ever. It used to be a best in slot mod before the Incarnon came out, but not anymore. I bought it just because I'm more of a collector. I just want all the mods in the game. And some of the augments you can't get unless you were playing during the Nora Nightwave when it came out like years and years ago.
We cannot blame these creatures. They are being led by a false prophet, an impostor who knows not the secrets of the Void.
Got about a minute left. We'll see what this kill count gets to. Average weapons will be at about 500 kills in 10 minutes. Above average weapons will be at about 700 kills in 10 minutes. And very good meta type weapons will be at like 900 and over kills in 10 minutes. I think this will be in the meta category. I think we're easily going to get that 900 mark. Got about 15 seconds here. And then we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if we're close to 900 there. All right, that's 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and find extraction, and then let's take a gander at our kill count here. 1,053. Damn, that did freaking good in 10 minutes. Damn, that did really good. Can't remember what the Tord got, or if I've done the Tord since I've changed the where I test. For a long time, I was testing on Lewis Circulus instead of Mott, but Lewis Circulus had a lot of enemies that like screw up spawns, so I had to switch it back to Mott. So I don't know if I can compare this. I'll check the Tord video. I think the Tord might have been on Lewis Circulus though. But, like, I feel like this might be comparable to it. Obviously, the Tord is a lot easier to use. It's a weapon that you just aim head height and it kills everything around it. I mean, this kind of does the same thing. It's just that you got to be a little bit more anal about getting your headshots to kill the Incarnon. So I think this one has it's a little bit more complicated to use. But I think if you master this, it could be pretty much at the same level as a Tord. Maybe even better.
As you conquer the foe, so you conquer yourself.
The Tord just has the benefit that it's not only incredibly powerful, but it's incredibly easy to use. So it has kind of both those things going for it. Requires no skill and is also incredibly powerful. This one requires a little bit of skill and is very powerful. So that is the Bronco Prime Incarnon. I hope you guys liked it. If you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.